All right. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. I'm your host, as always, Mike, and I'm joined, as usual, for PFL by my guy, Big Steve. We've done a bunch of shows in a row, been doing pretty well. What's good, Steve? Thanks for coming on. What do you think of this card?
That's all right, man. Always happy to be back. It's a bit like last week. I don't think I have anything concrete locked in, but last week was the same. And by the end of talking to you and finalizing my bets, we ended up sweeping the card again. So yeah, hopefully the same happens.
Oh, you swept?
Yeah. I only had 2 bets.
Sick. Bringing up my bets too. All right. So we'll be breaking down PFL Challenger Series Week 7. And we can hop right into the card. It's only 4 fights, but they're decent. A few I'm looking forward to, but let's do this. So the first fight, we've got Monte Dion Ogbonna Morrison. I'm going to just say Morrison versus Roland Dunlap. Morrison is 3-0, undefeated as a pro. He's 29 years old, 6'3", and he's training out of American Top Team. On the other side, you've got Dunlap. He's also 3-0, undefeated. Don't have his age. He's also 6'3", and he is training at, I've got Rufus Sport actually for him. Why don't you start us off, Steve? What are you thinking for this one?
I figured I would start this one off. Yeah, interesting fight, closely lined. Pretty somewhat high level for this PFL. I was flip-flopping, taping Dunlap. I thought this guy, really good explosive karate guy, really heavy body kicks, very snappy, low hands, switch stance. And then, you start watching his pro career and he's wrestling people. But the first thing that I noticed is I think his first LFA fight, second pro fight, I thought he was slowing down ASAP against Obina Ikabuna, and then kind of blowing out, and then his takedown started to get stuffed, and then he hit one and he hit a slam and he hit a slam KO, and I was like, okay, let's monitor that. And obviously Morrison on the other side, he really tall, lanky Nigerian Muay Thai guy. I remember when I was taping Feraldo versus the guy on Bellator. I wanted to see one fight over that went outside of one round, and I found his amateurs, and I saw him wrestled by Feraldo. And that seems to be the thing. He's getting wrestled a lot. Not always successfully. He's got good get-ups. He's a massive guy. It doesn't say his reach on Tapology, but I think he's got like at least 5 or 6 inches of reach on Dunlap. And, but watching his last fight, I could only find one pro fight. Maybe you can tell me if you found something else. Against Zach Dalen on XMMA. And, just slow plodding, got that steady pace of just doesn't really load up on his punches. It's all straight down the pipe, tall man defense. And he was getting cracked a bit. And I was like, yeah, look, Dunlap's going to have the speed advantage. He's going to be the more athletic guy. He's going to be lighting him up with that, slow footwork. And then I went back to Dunlap and I watched his last fight against a 3-6 jobber. That guy took the fight on 1 week's notice. And the same thing, slow down after round 1, got the takedowns easy. Round 2, couldn't get him as easily. Was blowing out of his mouth. And then round 3 started to get lit up by this 3-6 Riot Waller guy. Just literally lit up and with straight punches of all things, right? Which is what Monte is going to be doing. And then I ended up flipping. I just said, look, he's probably going to be losing at the start. Dunlap's going to go for takedowns. Everyone's trying to wrestle, Morrison since his amateur days. He said in his interview, I think by now he's used to it. I'm sure his get-ups are good. All decision losses, so no one submitted him. No one's knocked him out. The best they can do is just hold him against the cage. And I feel like he's got a steady pace at some point. In round 3, Dunlap is just going to struggle to get the takedowns and he's going to be hittable. And the steady pace and the 1-2s of Morrison is just going to start to light him up. And I kind of just went that way. I flip-flopped on my pick. And now, money's coming on Dunlap. I see everyone's on him. I just feel like they're just seeing what I was seeing at the start, but I've kind of I've done a 180. So I like the dog. I haven't played anything yet. What about you?
I was just about to ask you if it hits dog like plus 100, would you play it? But yeah, I actually have a really similar read to you. Roland Dunlap, he's a pretty good wrestler. I don't love his striking. I don't normally like karate styles. I mean, Wonder Boy is an exception, but I just don't love it. I think he's pretty hittable. Morrison is a really good striker. I think he easily has the striking advantage here. He knows how to fight long, uses reach and his height advantage. Output is pretty low, but he's got good work in the clinch. If Dunlap's going to be pushing him up against the fence, I think he's going to do good work there. Dunlap is pretty credentialed. He is a 2-time state champ back in high school, 3-time All-American, wrestled D3 in University of Wisconsin Whitewater. Apparently, that's where Corey Anderson wrestled as well. So you got to think he's got a decent background. And I mean, he shows it. He's a good wrestler, but his cardio sucks, which is what you were talking about. And as the fight goes on, his wrestling gets less effective and he's more hittable. I also watched the Feraldo fight for Morrison because I was looking for a fight where he lost. And I wanted to see how he was losing. And he did get out grappled by Feraldo. Feraldo's pretty good. We don't know just how good yet. He hasn't fought anyone good. Bellator's just been feeding him. But I lean Morrison as well. If Dunlap can't get those takedowns, if he can't hold him down, I think he's just going to beat him up. If we get plus odds on Morrison, I think I'll pull the trigger. But for now, I'm staying off. I did play the fight goes to decision at plus 180 for a half unit. It's plus 130 now. Money's been coming in. I like betting fight goes or overs on guys on fights where I think there's going to be a lot of grappling. And because I think Dunlap's going to be pushing the grappling, I think that we are going to probably go to decision. That's my lean at least. Morrison, he's really good, but he's finishing these guys who I think are not on Dunlap's level. Not that Dunlap is some stud, but they're just not as good. And you look at his amateur results. Yeah, it's only 9 rounds, but he's been to decision a lot as an amateur. I'm looking at it now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 of 16 fights as an amateur, he went to decision. So I like that spot. At plus 130, I don't know, but I think it's still a decent look. What do you think of that, Steve?
I'm trying to find it on best fight odds. What's the over-under set at?
2.5.
And what is it, plus money?
I think it was plus 105 last I looked. Minus 105.
So it's essentially the pick 'em, right?
Yeah, money's been coming in. Opened plus 120.
I guess, yeah, I'll have to look into it. As you know, like I do my first layer of tape, and then so I can do the podcast with you. And then, like last week, I said I kind of like the under in the Gonzalez, and before I actually played it, I just retaped everything. So I'd have to look into it. I mean, obviously, there's a risk of Dunlap getting knocked out if he just completely gasses and he's not fighting a 3-6 journeyman this time. But then again, that last KO for Monte was a leg injury over Zach Dallin. He didn't really knock him out. He just kept coming forward, and he doesn't really. His 1-2s are just doesn't load up really. He just throws them out there. But these big Nigerian dudes, they can just throw out their big punches. When you got 8 inches of reach, and you just you lean behind, you fully extend. It's eventually on the gas fighter. It's eventually gonna put him away. But yeah, I have to look into it. I feel like maybe it's accurate at Pick'em. I felt like he was a bit better dog odds earlier in the week, which I would have played. But now it's like 50% chance he either gets finished over or goes under. But yeah, that could be a play for me.
All right, let's move on to the next fight. This one I think is going to be a mess. We've got Tristan Overig versus Billy Alakana. Overig, 5-1-0, 23 years old, super young, 6 feet tall. Don't have his gym here. Let me check my notes. Yeah, I didn't get his gym. On the other side, you've got Billy Alakana, 4-1-0. He's going to be 4 years older at 27, 2 inches taller. Don't have the reach for either guy. And we're going to go with Tapology, Uprising MMA Training Center. I'll start this fight off. My original lean was Billy Alakana, just because I thought that he was the better striker, and I still think he's a better striker. I don't really rate Overig striking at all, really. I think he's pretty hittable, and just don't like him on the feet. His grappling, I think, is what's going to get the job done. That's what I'm banking on, at least. His wrestling's pretty good. He's got some wrestling background. Pretty sure he wrestled in college. I can't tell you where. I think his BJJ is pretty slick. He does compete. I don't know exactly at what level, but I do know that he does compete in BJJ or did compete. On the other side with Alakana, his wrestling's also pretty good. Haven't really seen his takedown defense. If you did, Steve, talk about it when it's your turn. That would help. But he did get taken down by Nielsen in their fight, end of round 3. But Nielsen didn't really do anything with it. It was the end of the 3rd round, end of the fight. So this one's tough, but I ended up pulling the trigger on Overig. I did not get the dog odds. I thought money would come in on him, and it came in the other way. Probably because people are seeing what I saw with the striking, and if Overig can't get the wrestling going, I think he might be in trouble. I put a unit on him at -115. Not going to do much more than that. And yeah, what do you think?
It's a low level fight, so I can understand why it's hard to play it. It's why I haven't played anything either. I went down the same path as you, man. You watch. I kind of remember Alakana when I was taping Nielsen for one of his LFA fights. And yeah, just it looks. I was willing to fade you ASAP. I was like, what's this guy seeing? I remember Tristan Overig when he was fighting his last fight against that 40-something-year-old bare knuckle boxer, and he had some struggles there. And I thought about maybe sprinkling because I saw some flakiness in him, right? Obviously, he's 22 years old now. Some of the fights, 23. Some of the fights I watched, he was like 19. Obviously, you're going to be flaky. I watched his Shamrock decision loss against Zach Scroggins in 2020. That was before the juice. The guy's got like my physique, and now he looks roided to the tits. So you can't really hold that, too much. But then I watched this Julius Walker one, which is also a split, and it's he gets his wrestling off, but it's not the best wrestling, and he's slow and he's plotting. He seems a bit gassy, hittable. So it's like if he doesn't submit the guy, he ends up being a very, very sloppy fight. And that was also an amateur fight, so it's like it was 9 minutes max, right? So obviously I wish I could find that loss, Nick Klein in LFA, the decision. That would be beautiful to see, but you can kind of get the idea. He probably got some wrestling. He probably got reversed. Didn't submit him, and then probably got outstruck. But yeah, then the Alakana fight, he fought Nielsen and he kind of stuffed everything, and I was like, he's gonna light this guy up. But then you realize Nielsen is the next welterweight, right? He's a small dude, and then you realize this fight's a light heavyweight. And then I went deep, and I saw him, lose to Daniel Compton, and started to get takedown a bit there. His takedown defense looked good there, right? Looked good early. But then the constant pressure and, the guy shooting rounds 2 and 3, that's what broke him. And he actually started to take him down. And then I was like, all right, this Billy Compton guy seems good. I went on his profile. It's like 8-2, 8-3 now. So it's a bit of a step up compared to this Tristan, who's a purple belt. He does compete a lot, though, in jiu-jitsu. There's grappling fights from him on YouTube. And then I went back and I looked at Billy Alakana's fight against Kobe Jeffers, which was 2019. That was his only fight in light heavyweight that I could find. And yeah, he gets tossed around there too, and he weighs in at 194. 194, so he's 10 pounds undersized, right? So he's not a natural light heavyweight. He missed weight for one of his middleweight fights. It just seems like he doesn't do much. He's way too patient. He's just a jab. Occasional low kick merchant. If Tristan just constantly goes for takedowns, and even if he gets stuffed, even if he's getting lit up, if his cardio holds up, maybe his size can work for him. But he's gonna gas. Yeah, he's just gonna be. It's such a low level fight. It's hard to have any. It's hard to put more money on it. But yeah, at the moment it'll be a dog or pass. I just noticed now that he fought Alakana. He fought Sylvian Coley, the dude that's 5-0 in Bellator now, and he's a really good wrestler, and he beat him to a decision. I wish I could find that fight. That would be quite telling. But yeah, I mean, Kobe Jeffers after that just ragdolled him, and that was a light heavyweight too. So maybe Corley was really bad back in 2019. But yeah, I get why people are playing Alakana. He's a lot more clean striker on the feet, and he does seem to be able to stop the first few takedowns early, which it's going to get sweaty for Tristan. Because even the 46-year-old bare knuckle boxer was stuffing his takedowns early, and he looked sweaty. It looked very sweaty. So yeah, pass for me at the moment.
What do you think about the totals here? Under 2.5 is -170. Over is +140. Kind of lean the over here also.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be sloppy, man. Sloppy. Tristan never been knocked out. I guess Alakana has some power. Yeah, -200, close to -200. It's a bit steep because he does most of his damage on top. Tristan, like he's got good ground and pound. He's got a good armbar as well from his back. But yeah, it's just nothing I'm really confident about on this one.
All right, we can move on to the next fight. Here we've got Taylor Johnson versus Trey Williams. Johnson is 8-3-0. He's 32 years old, 5'11" with the 73-inch reach, training out of American Top Team Portland. On the other side, you've got Williams. He is 6'3-0, 31 years old, 1 year younger, 6'2", 3 inches taller, same exact reach. And I've got him training out of Urban Sprawl Fitness. What do you think for this one, Steve?
Alrighty. Yeah, easy dog or pass for me. This was Trey Williams, my man. He's my favorite bet of 2022. He was playing $3.30 on Cage Warriors against a 46-year-old old man. What's that for you guys? Plus 230. He was playing, and he closed at like minus 500 or something. I told everyone, all the boys, I was like, play this. You'll get insane CLV when people catch on. Yeah, and he made that closer than he should have been. So I understand why he's such a big dog. Yeah, he's not fighting a 46-year-old Samoan man anymore. He's fighting Taylor Johnson, who's got power. He's super athletic, super explosive. But yeah, essentially, he's not really trustworthy, man. He's super gassy. He's a bit of a meathead. He's got good performances against Johnny Eblen. Dropped Eblen once, and then he's getting heel hooked in the first round by Ed Ruth. Losing to Fabio Aguilar and Bellator, the guy that just literally holds on to you against the cage. And he should have been the more athletic guy, should have been the better wrestler. And yeah, just gassed out. And then he's, now he's a light heavyweight. And you watch his last fight against Alexander Popek, and he just doesn't do much. Doesn't do much until he's ready to explode. It was a really close fight until he kind of dropped Popek and took his back. And yeah, Trey Williams is athletic. He fought at heavyweight before. He did lose to Chuck Campbell, but it's like that was a robbery. That was I think that's why his line was so big against Elijah Harris in Cage Warriors. He also lost to Aaron Phillips, which I would love to find, but I can't find that one. But before that, he if you watch his fight with Ivan Budinic, he's the guy that trains at ETT. He was like a prospect. He's 5-2 now. Budinic was like lighting him up, bloodied him up. He was ground and pounding and flattened him out. And then Trey Williams got up, survived, and then cracked him, and then Anaconda choked him. It was like a beautiful comeback. And I was like, this guy's got potential, man. Why is he such a big underdog, right? But there was a double knockdown in that fight. They both hit each other, and it looked like Trey stiffened up. And luckily, the other guy was also dropped. That's why the ref didn't jump in. And he also got knocked out by Anthony Hernandez in 51 seconds back in 2014. So I'm seeing maybe he's got some chin issues. I'm not too sure, But if this doesn't end in a knockout, yeah, this is going to be, yeah. Maybe Taylor Johnson is just going to win by the slimmest of margins. But yeah, Williams definitely has the better cardio than him. He definitely has the better cardio. It's just, yeah, I don't know. It's another fight where it's an easy dog or pass. I'm close. I'm contemplating playing Trey Williams, but it's just.
Does he have good takedown defense? Do you know?
Trey Williams? Off the top of my head, he was taken down by Chuck Campbell, which is a red flag. And I can't remember if Elijah Harris took him down, but I think he had Elijah Harris's back, and then he would just like fall off and stuff, which is red flag. Red flag city. Maybe the over here. I don't know what the over is. Or maybe even the under.
So I played the fight goes to decision here at plus 250. It's now plus 160. The over is set at over 1.5, which I actually kind of like, but it's minus 175. Maybe a parlay piece. I don't know. It's risky, but I like Taylor Johnson here. Honestly, I think the line's pretty accurate. I don't rate Trey Williams very much. Yeah, he's got better cardio. I think I give him the striking. But neither one really to me is a great striker. Both guys relatively hittable. I mean, Elijah Harris was hitting him a lot, Williams, so that was not a good look. And you look at Johnson, like who's beating him? So he got out grappled by Aguilar. I don't think that's the worst look. Aguilar is a good grappler. He got out grappled by, I believe, Johnny Eblen, and he got out grappled by Andre Muniz, which you can't really blame him for. So, and the Popek fight, I think I backed Popek there because I thought Johnson's striking sucked, which it kind of does, but he out grappled Popek there, got the decision. So I don't know if I'm going to do anything with him. Considered parlaying him with the main event, which we'll talk about soon, but comes out to minus 150, which isn't really anything. I might try, maybe I'll do minus 175 for the over 1.5, parlay that with the main event. Might come out to close to even money. So we'll see. But right now, nothing here for me. Just the fight goes to decision at plus 250. And we can move on to the next fight. What do you think of those totals, Steve?
Yeah, just thinking about him now, I don't know. It's kind of like nothing's jumping out at me. The over 1.5 is so juiced, but you just don't know how Taylor Johnson's going to come out because he's usually a rabies machine, right? He's got so many round one finishes. Even against Andrew Muniz, he just sprinted across the cage and just picked him up and slammed him, even though he don't want to be in Muniz's guard, right? He doesn't care. Yeah, you don't know. It's just I don't know how he's going to fight, but hey, there's been a lot of under 1.5 finishes, you know. I think because Gonzalez was a decision machine last week. That's why we got plus money. It's an Indian dude that couldn't get out of round one against bums. He's getting knocked out by everyone. So maybe this is one of those where Tyler Johnson gets a step down in competition and just goes, I need a contract. I'm going to spark this dude. And, you cash a nice plus money under. We'll see. You have to look into it.
All right. We can move on to the next fight then. For this one, we've got Impa Kasanganai versus Osama El Sadi. Kasanganai 10-3-0, 29 years old. He's 5'11" with a 75-inch reach, training out of Killcliff FC. El Sadi 8-2-0. Don't have his age, don't have his height or his reach. I believe, based off of what I've seen on the tape, I think they're going to be similar in height. I mean, Impa is a middleweight. I don't know what he's doing at 205. And El Sadi, honestly, I don't know if he can make middleweight. He's like built, like very, very built, but neither guy to me screams like, oh, I'm like a huge heavyweight, light heavyweight. In terms of skills, I think El Sadi kind of sucks, honestly. I mean, he's fought like nobody. His last fight before his 2022 fight was 2018, and the 2022 fight was 54 seconds long. So since 2018, he's fought for 54 seconds, not even a minute. And in 2016, he lost to freaking Mustafa Netta, who was supposed to fight, I think, in the first week of the Challenger Series. And Netta is awful, absolutely awful. Not a good look. His fight IQ looks pretty trash to me, El Sadi. His striking, I mean, it's so sloppy. He's just winging like crazy freaking strikes, just winging it. I think he's very sloppy on the feet. I think he's very hittable. His last fight, he got a really nice front kick to the face knockout, but I don't think he's going to pull that on Kasanganai. Kasanganai, very well-rounded, in my opinion, coming off a win over Jared Gooden, knocked him out, which I think is impressive. I rate Jared Gooden, he's probably somewhere in the middle of UFC talent, but I like the wrestling of Kasanganai. The takedown defense of El Sadi didn't look very good to me. I think Impa can use that if he's not liking what's happening on the feet, but I think he's much more technical on the feet too, so I think that he's going to be able to really do whatever he wants in this fight. So minus 450 on Impa, I don't know how I feel about that, but I might just say screw it and just parlay him with the over on the Taylor Johnson fight. We'll see. I got to also retape some of these. It's been a crazy week for me, but right now, nothing. I do think Kasanganai wins this like clearly. Whether he gets a finish or not, I'm not sure. El Sadi never been knocked out, been submitted one time. Impa's got 3 subs. Let me check it out. Fight doesn't go as minus 250. Fight goes plus 195. Yeah, I've got no real read here on the totals or anything like that. What do you think for this fight, Steve?
What's the over under set at?
1.5 plus 125 for. Oh wait, I kind of like that. Over 1.5 is plus 125. Under is minus 155.
Oh yeah, I'll probably hit the under, man.
You're gonna hit the under?
Yeah, I mean, if he can knock out Jared Gooden, who is a bit chinny and he's got his hands low, I'm sure he can finish his bum. And yeah, that front kick up the middle was so mean, dude. It was just like Michael Chandler Ferguson, which Chandler said he didn't expect that to even hit his head. He just threw it out there. That's exactly what this looked like. This guy just punted the air, and it just ended up clipping the guy on the chin, and he couldn't believe it himself. But the way Impa fights, man, the glove sniffing and his head's straight down, always bends over, right, when people throw stuff. Even Bisping was saying in that Pitolo fight, he's like, I hate how he keeps ducking his head. Like if Pitolo actually threw a front kick up the middle, that's where Osama comes in. just upsets the money cart. But yeah, I'm talking crap. Yeah, I don't know. I think Impa might be a little bit chinny as well. This Osama guy is going to swing like an animal. Yeah, I might hit the under 1.5. Why not? Like Impo's finished under by Buckley. He finished Sasha in the under. He got finished by Harris in the under, and he finished Gooden in the under, right? And he was lighting up Patolo. Patolo showed a good chin, so why not, man? I mean, this is a setup fight. Surely he doesn't get out of round one. So we've seen these setup fights recently. Obviously, I would have liked a better line. I think we're just spoiled with the plus money unders that we had last week. Yeah, I'm still annoyed I didn't hit that Kelly one after our boy Dan Levy actually gave us the footage of his coach beating that guy up. It was the same thing. He flattened him out. Same way Kelly kind of flattened him out too, but he went for an arm triangle. But yeah, that's the only thing I'd play. I don't. Impa, yeah, he's better, but I don't really want to play Impa at $1.25. He's not that trustworthy. So yeah, it's definitely not a dog or pass, but I'll just play the under and hope that Impa gets him out of there early.
Makes sense to me. All right. That's a card. All 4 fights for PFL Challenger Series Week 7. Thank you to anybody who tuned in. Always appreciate it big time. In terms of anything else I'm doing this week, content tomorrow is Friday, right? Yeah. So I'll be going live as usual for Prop Talk with Propaholic on Twitter. That's always very dope. Props pretty good with props. I'm also, I'd say, pretty good. But always a good time. Make sure to tune into that. I'm going to try to put out a Bellator video. I'm going to do my best. I don't know if I'll have time, but definitely not going to have time for LFA. I am going to break it down and maybe take my own bets and post them, but I'm not going to do a video. But for Bellator, I really want to do a video. I actually really like this card. And yeah, Steve, thanks for coming on as usual. And why don't you tell the people what you got going on, where to find you?
Yeah, just in about 2 hours, I'm doing my own Big Brain MMA podcast. Exactly 2 hours from now. Yeah, just going live, breaking the card. A little bit late, but yeah, it's been a crazy week as well. And that's it. I'll also probably have no time for Bellator. I'm just trying to take it easy this week. And I'll just squeeze whatever I can for LFA, maybe the main card. And yeah, just follow me on Twitter. I'll post what I can. I always give out my bets for free. So that's about it.
All right. Thank you guys once again, and good luck with any bets you've got this weekend.